and we'll go all around if and when our new school board liaison joins. So without further ado and delay, I want to turn it over to Kim.
Awesome, and I'm going to share my screen, and we practiced it earlier, which means that nothing will go the way we practiced. So let me share my screen. So I am Kim Durand, and I have been with the Community Outreach Program for just about a year now. And this slideshow has new slides, but some old slides as well. The Community Outreach Program has been around for quite a few years. We teach, connect, and empower underserved residents throughout the community, and to inspire a self-sufficient, welcoming, and culturally inclusive community. So when I'm out and about and talking to folks about what's your new job, I always just say that I'm with a team of people who really connect those who need resources to the resources that they need. Most of this slide is the way we have been operating since before COVID, and then the world sort of shifted a little bit, and we have added a few things, so I'll try to highlight those. Some of you have been familiar with the Community Outreach Program for a very long time. For example, I know that John Andelin was very involved with it in its various inceptions, as Rick has been as well. We used to be with Parks and Recreation, so I don't know, Kimberly, if you were in Parks and Rec when we were doing that. And I know Robert knows a lot more about it than probably I do, so please chime in if I'm missing something. So some pictures here, they show the Diaper Bank, and we've been giving out diapers since the start of the pandemic. Shows the food distribution at Arlington Mill, and then we also did some eviction prevention fairs during COVID. So you, I guess with the masks is kind of a dead giveaway, whether it's pre or post-COVID. So we began in 1979 as the Southeast Asian Food and Nutrition Program. We became the Arlington County Bilingual Program in 1986. And then in 1998, we shifted over to Human Services and became what is now the Community Outreach Program. Some of the things that we do, application assistance. When folks need anything in the community, they usually call the Customer Service Center, which is the phone number is 1300. And then from that 1300 number, they might be diverted to Child and Family Services, they might be diverted to Public Health, but whatever they might need, a lot of times they get shifted over to somebody in our staff. We help with food and clothing, so AFAC, or we try to connect people to different clothing banks. We have the Diaper Bank now. We do housing and eviction prevention. We help with any sort of application that might be for the housing grant or for Medicaid or for a job announcement, or trying to steer people towards various educational opportunities for them. We also have some programs like the APAC food distributions. We have citizenship classes at Arlington Mill. We have not started back up the computer classes yet, but we have had computer classes at Gates of Boston and at other locations. The Spanish literacy class does happen right now at Arlington Mill on Friday nights. And then in the past, we've also helped support a lot of cultural celebrations and mobile consulate services, one of which we hope to be having in May. And then I threw in the other duties as assigned, because as I'm learning this position, I'm learning that if anybody wants to go out into the community to do something, whether it is the, when we were doing the census, when we were doing vaccine programs, when we are doing mask giveaways, they come to us. So currently I've got test kits that we're giving away. I've got grocery bags that we're giving away. There was one Saturday in April that I got to go around with the team and actually find homeless folks to give them shots in arms. So it's really been an amazing group of people to get to know, understand the breadth of everything that they support in the county. This is a fabulous picture of my team. There are 7 of us. The languages we speak are English, Arabic, Spanish, and French. And there are some other little pieces in there as well. We originate from Morocco, Egypt, United States, Bolivia, and I think there's some other places in there that we traveled to and wish we were from. But as many of you probably know, Susan Stolpe, she used to be with Volunteer Arlington. Luz Maria is one of the newer members. She used to work with Doorways. Connie Francis, of course, everybody knows Connie. She's over at Gates of Boston. Miguel Carpio Castano used to be with adult behavioral health, and he has come over to us. And then there's Zineb, and he has been with us for about 11 years, I believe, and she's usually at Arlington Mill. And then Dina, and Dina has been at Harvey Hall and also Woodbury Park, although we have not gone back to Woodbury Park. So we are out in the community quite a bit. We work with anybody who will work with us. That's sort of what this slide is showing. Our challenges, the ever increasing demand for services and the shortage of affordable housing. And these two right now go in hand, particularly during this time of COVID, when we were sort of plucked out of our just regular duties and diverted into eviction prevention. And so my staff went from trying to make sure that folks were getting their job applications in to making sure that they weren't evicted. And the shortage of affordable housing really sort of exacerbates that. So those are some things: very limited resources and services available to undocumented residents. And so that's a continuing, ongoing program. And then balancing the data management with service delivery. We want to be out there and doing everything, but we also need to be accountable for what we're doing and making sure that everybody's aware of all of the amazing things that are happening in Arlington. Our locations. So Woodbury Park is one that has not opened back up. Gunston, we have not moved back into, but both of those used to be associated with food distribution and also seeing clients. We have the food distribution and diaper distribution at Arlington Mill. Harvey Hall, Luz Maria does see clients there, and Gates of Boston, there's food distribution, and Connie and Miguel see clients there. I've added in Lubber Run because at the end of this year, actually I believe in September, we're going to be shifting from our offices at Gates of Boston to Lubber Run. And so you'll see more and more programs and opportunities that will be moving to Lubber Run. I added Bridges to Independence / Green Valley. We have a contract with Bridges to Independence, formerly Bonder and Amanda Johnson, BAJ, and we work very closely with them and support all of the work that they're doing in Green Valley. And then we are also exploring having space, dedicated space, once or twice a month at AFAC at Nelson Street, because we want to try to go where clients are rather than have me at Sequoia or one of my staff at Arlington Mill or at Gates of Boston. We want to have those sort of be the hubs, yes, but we want to go where people are. And people are at AFAC, and people are in Green Valley, and people are, in all of these other spaces. So we're trying to make sure that we've got a nice balance of locations, but also understanding where people are and making those connections. So if you wanted to get involved, you could teach a class, you could lead a workshop, help distribute groceries, help with any of the special events that hopefully we'll be having soon. If you wanted to partner, you could sponsor a workshop or a program, provide a service, lead a donation drive. So right now we have coats that we're giving away. I'm not sure where they were donated from, but we have coats. We have partnered, I have period products here. We partnered with an organization called Bras that gave us a lot of bras, sports bras and period products for women. We have a group of folks who knit us amazing hats and scarves, but they're short on yarn. So if we had some yarn, we could give it to them and they could make us some hats and scarves. We do have some formula that we give out to the moms, or you could help with a scholarship for classes or camps, or et cetera. So there's all sorts of different ways that community members can get involved with what's going on. We used to have a very strong volunteer program, and then the world changed, and we haven't really been able to get back to that. But I am hopeful and looking forward to that part of the job that I have yet to really explore. And so these are the people, the amazing folks that I work with: Susan Stolpe, Zinem Morshid, Connie Freeman, Miguel, Carpio Castanan, Dina Abdelghani, Luz Fernandez. And then if you want my phone number, there's my information, but I have the same email that I used to have. So you can always get a hold of me through that. And I think that's it. So I wanted to go through it all really quickly. And I know that was like that, but I knew that you all would have questions. So I'm gonna stop the share and see what questions you have. Hi, Devanshi. Oh, you can email me and I will meet you somewhere in Arlington. I'm there. I'm usually in Arlington on Mondays and Fridays, full day. Wednesdays are usually pretty busy because I am distributing diapers, but we have volunteers and we do sometimes have volunteers help. So I could probably meet you somewhere on a Wednesday too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So
yep.
I was going to say, first of all, that this is the reason that Rick and I went and talked to Kim is because her model has so many elements of what a community navigator is. And it already exists in the community. And so Kim, could you talk a little bit more about how you actually connect with people one-on-one, you know, what that place-based model, how that works, and what's been successful?
So I am fortunate enough that the program has been successful long before I got here. So what my understanding is that, and what I'm beginning to learn is that if you offer some sort of a service to get people in the door, then you are opening up the door to talk to them about all sorts of different things. So the Diaper Bank, you know, at various times, even when I was with Child and Family Services, we had tried to do the Diaper Bank, but logistically it was kind of hard. And what were we going to do with it? And what's the benefit? And we just couldn't find the right fit. But with the pandemic, all of a sudden, here's an opportunity for us to get people to come in. We develop a little bit of a relationship, even if it's for 30 seconds, to give them their diaper. What size diaper do you need? But then when I became more involved and I could do some of the check-in and really talking to people, it's what else do you need? What are you seeing? When we have coats and things like that we have on a rack in the back, we see if somebody needs a coat or something. And so I can sort of keep a mental track, and when people leave the door, then I can write it down of, we need to reach out to this person because it seems like she had 3 kids and she didn't have anybody to help her, and maybe she needs something else. Right around the holidays, we can really tell when folks need help. So just by having them come in to get diapers, the diapers are almost secondary. Yes, of course, they need the diapers and we want to get them connected to the diapers, but it's an opportunity to say, what else do you need? And Zineb, who is there, really has developed a relationship with those folks. And Mondays is when we do the food distribution. And I will tell you that the food distribution is anything but just handing over the food, because everybody has something else to say. And so, you know, today we have these rice and beans, and then all of a sudden, well, I'm allergic to those rice and beans. Well, have you gone to the doctor about those rice and beans? I don't have a doctor. And so then all of a sudden you're connecting people just by asking, you know, we've got rice and beans today. So there's just so many ways that you can connect with people through these kinds of events. Now they are location based, you know, so people have to come to us. So we are still trying to get away from that model, and how do we get out to where folks are? So for example, if we go to AFAC, again, people are going to AFAC at Nelson Street there, but while they're there, we can talk to them, we can find out where they are. And if we happen to notice that there's a big group of people who are living at the Apex and they all need services, then I can mobilize my team and we can go over to Apex and we can offer some services there. We really do have a great relationship with AHC and APA and Wesley Community Services. And so we work very closely with the resident services there. There is some overlap of the work that they do and the work that we do. And so we really try to make sure that we're complementing our efforts rather than supplanting each other's efforts. So if we know that AHC is on it and they're having a pizza event that is connecting people to resources, we want to show up and be one of the resources, A, but then we also want to make sure that we're not going to then host a similar event at a different location. You know, we want to make sure that we're not at odds with each other and duplicating efforts, we're supporting each other's efforts. So we know that going out where people are and events where people are. So if there's a housing event, if Lubber Run is having a big thing, we try to go there. We were at the county fair. So as much as possible, we're going out, meeting people, talking to people, and trying to continually assess where their needs are in the community, and then going to those locations to meet with folks. Yeah, it's pretty impressive, the breadth of what my staff is able to accomplish in just the very simple relationship building that they do. And I know Carol will talk very much about that, because it's making time for the answer of how are you today, because it's not just fine, thanks, how are you? John, I see your hand up.
Yeah, well, thanks, nice presentation, good work. When you find out what these needs are, then you need the resources to help. And you mentioned affordable housing as one of the limits that's bothering you. Can you give us a few of the other examples of where we might be able to shore up our resources a bit?
And I don't know that we have a solution for the issues, but I will tell you that in my tenure so far, some of the things that I have noticed is definitely childcare. That's no surprise to anybody in this call, because so often if somebody they need a job, but they can't get to that job because they have to have somebody watching their child so that they can go to the interview, so that they can, you know, so it's a little bit of a vicious cycle there. Another thing that I have noticed a great deal of is mental health issues. I have met and spoken with so many people who present in ways that I know they have a mental health issue and they just need help. And trying to be able to peel the layers of what is truth and what is in their head and how can we support them. There have been clients who are reporting that somebody is beating them up and they're being evicted because of this, that, and the other. And that all goes down to their mental health. And so childcare and mental health are things that I think are so very important to the people that we are trying to help the most. And we work very closely with adult behavioral health and also ADSD, adults and disability services. Robert, is that right? ADSD?
Aging and disability services.
That one. So we work very closely with everybody, but an example of how we try to find a need and then connect. Healthcare, just in general, healthcare. And we all know that the free clinic has, you know, they can't see everybody. So we were able to find the Community Cares Network from ANOVA, and that they do take folks from Arlington. And so we invited them to one of our meetings where my staff was able to ask all sorts of questions. And now we have been able to include them in the resources that we are sharing with our clients. And the way my staff shares information isn't just by a flyer. They actually will call clients and proactively, it's called batch calling. Who knew that was a thing, right? But they will pick up the phone some afternoon when they've got some time to do calls, and they will call 15, 20 people to say, hey, did you know about the job fair on Saturday at Love Run, or whatever the event might be. So although we do quite a bit of the flyers and handing information out, because we do have, right now I'm handing out COVID test kits and grocery bags. So in the bag, I have the diapers, the test kits, and they get it all in a grocery bag. But then we're also saying, and did you see this? And 3 weeks ago, I don't know what made me think about, John, I'm looking at you and the flyer that we used to have about just play or just read. And I've been including that in all that. I'm like, wait a second, we should be handing this out. So I'm still using all of our materials. And
that's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Of course, because it's so important. Kristen, how are you? It's so good to see you.
Hi, thank you. That was wonderful, wonderful work you're doing. I wanted to ask what kind of workshops or classes y'all are interested in. And then after you answered John's question, I thought, what about some kind of a community SEL, like social emotional learning class that would help with school readiness, job readiness, coping skills, and mental health support?
So before this, the classes that we have really are based on the staff and the people who are volunteering. So Gladys Jones used to work with the program, and she was wonderful at sewing. So we had a sewing program. That's not happening. I can't sew. I would be the first one to sign up for that class, but I'm not. So it really depends. Like, I would love to, maybe partner with Barbara Gomez and the Master Gardeners, and maybe we do something around gardening, or, it really depends on who is there. Connie will tell you that on Friday nights, they used to have, I forget which class it was, but I know they also had Zumba, and they had some financial literacy, I think it was, and they did it all night and then made it into a big festival kind of a thing. And so there would be 100 people there, and they were there to not just learn, but also to engage with each other. And, so that was really awesome. As far as the SEL, we'd have to, I think, tie it into something else that is drawing them there, because I don't think people are going to come to something like that initially. I think we need to tie it to something that they're going to want to come to. I am really excited, and Lynn, I want to make sure Miguel has, I think, just finished his mental health first aid training. So I am so excellent about that. Yeah, because he'll be able to then train our staff and ensure that we can, and he will have to do those trainings periodically. So he will be able to do that for community members.
Yes, and he can definitely pair up with us because you need to train as a dyad. So that'll be wonderful. Thank you.
Mr. Stroba.
There's a couple of questions and also observations to make just for the partnership in general. One is, one of the great things about your staff is they're really out on the street, really talking to people. I'm wondering if there's some way to gather and disseminate information to groups like ours or whatever, to say, hey, this week or this month, this is what's going on and you need to know. There seems to be a lot of this going on in the community. People are very worried about whatever, even things like, I'm thinking like with Afghanistan and refugees, like if there were some refugees coming into the community, how would we know that? Is there an impact? Can we provide services to them or be aware of what's going on? I do think that COVID, for someone like me, for example, if I was already removed from the community, I'm totally removed now, and it would be helpful to get that information back to us or back to anybody.
So I'm not sure I'm understanding. So the DHS definitely was very involved in all of that and very supportive of the Afghan refugees. And we were at the airport picking people up and helping them with all of, you know what I mean? So we were very involved. So I'm not, so
I'm oblivious to all of this and I have no way of learning about that. No way to know if there's something going on. I don't know. I'm just thinking about that the people who are at the very front line are learning and observing and seeing things that would be helpful for other people to know, because there's a million resources out there.
And so the dilemma is you're so focused on making sure that the work gets done, they're not all that worried about, oh, that's right, I forgot to tell Rick we were doing this. They're just focused on getting the work done. And that's true. I love my team so much. I can't tell you how awesome this group of people are, but I have to be the one to say, okay, you guys, I need to fill out this little form that tells me how much did we do, how well did we do it, and is anybody better off, and trying to get Connie Freeman to stop what she's doing, to sit at her computer, to type in some notes for me is really hard. And so, yes, we should do that and we need to work on it. I will work on it and I will try to keep you apprised of things that are going on. But what we do all the time is with our clients, we're always gathering data and always evaluating what should we be doing and sharing that not just with my little team of 7, but Community Assistance Bureau, which is more like 30 people, and then within Economic Independence, which is many more, and then it goes on up to Anita. So we really do have a strong network of people who is very much aware of what is going on in the community. That didn't answer your question, but that's all I got.
That's all you got. That's okay. No worries. Not a worry at all. One of the things that I'm thinking, Megan and I have talked about this idea, community navigators. This is what's sort of on our mind. People who are in the community making these important connections, developing relationships. That's what really strengthens the community too, to, get something they want or that they need to survive, and then at the same time help them. I'm thinking just from the partnerships perspective, that's something, it's almost like any department in the county or anyone working in the county, if you had a team of people who are doing that kind of thing, or at least, an awareness, anyone who is doing something like this, they're connected like a whole bunch of other people. Like, I think this guy we have in the court services unit called Angel Garcia. I don't know if anyone's ever interacted with him, but he's working with truancy. Kids who are truant, we're trying to prevent them from having to come to court for truancy, but just to figure out what the problems are. And he's a one-man show, unfortunately, at the moment. But we're looking at ways to get more people out there and more helping people connect to things that are in their, that are better than going to court, or better than just, giving someone something and telling them to go seek it themselves. So I don't think I have a cogent question anymore, but I do want to thank you and recognize that, it's more of a creative process rather than a solution-based process at the moment.
Well, I know I put my timer on and then it made noise and then I quickly turned it off. And that was probably 20 minutes ago. So I am always here for you guys and you can reach out to me separately, but I would like to turn it over to poor Carol. And Lynn, I forgot, I just saw your hand up. Do you have something?
Yeah, sorry, it just went up. I just want to make a quick comment, if I may. Kim, thank you for that presentation. Is very comprehensive. And I think what really resonated with me was the community-centeredness approach of everything that you're doing. It's so much beyond just giving a list of resources and go here to get that, but it's that constant engagement and that relationship that is being built, and that trust and credibility that is built. That's hard work. So I think that that is the approach that is needed to work with, you know, historically marginalized communities, especially. And I think it points to the complexity, you know, of this engagement that is critical in the process of what we're trying to do. And I'm very humbled, you know, by your team and the work that you're doing. But as you were speaking, I was taking notes like, wow, there's so many more opportunities to collaborate that I really need to sit with you and your team. And, you know, we're planning for 3 months of wellness, and so much of it is wellness for, you know, and marginalized communities that we can team up on, especially Afghan communities right now that we want to, you know, focus on. So I appreciate that, and I'll definitely follow up with a phone call with you, Kim.
Okay.
So if there are no other questions, Kim, thank you so much. I know you have to hop off. So although we would love to have you, but stay on as long as you can.
Turns out my nephew has another party to go to.
Oh my, he's too good for his own birthday party.
Oh, Auntie Kim got kicked to the curb, but that's okay.
Okay, great. So next, so good, you can join us for our conversation. Next, I want to turn it over to Carol. Thank you, Carol, for joining us. And without further ado, take it away.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Sabatino, and I am the Community School Coordinator at Carlin Springs Elementary School. And I'm thrilled to be with you tonight. I very much enjoy sharing about the community school model and all the special things that are happening here at Carlin Springs. So let me share my screen. I also did practice with Kim. Okay. Here we go. How are we looking?
Looks good.
Okay. So I'll start by sharing a little bit about the school. Carlin Springs is an Arlington public school. We are a Title I school and serve approximately 600 students in grades preschool through 5th grade. We serve a diverse international community. About 90% of our students come from immigrant families, representing over 35 different countries. And approximately 70% of our students are English learners. Prior to the pandemic, we were approximately 90% free and reduced lunch. We now participate in the community eligibility program, which enables us to provide 100% of the school with free breakfast and lunch. And we are a neighborhood school, meaning if you live in Carlin Springs zone, you come to our school. However, we are not geographically located in the neighborhood where the majority of our families live. Almost 100% of our school are bus riders. And so I was thinking about what Kim said, we go where the people are. So a lot of our partnerships and programs, you know, we utilize our partners to reach families where they are. So if it means having school programs and family nights, parent meetings outside of these 4 walls in places like Arlington Mill, that's what we'll do to make sure we are reaching our families. So the community school model is an all hands on deck school improvement model. It joins together a neighborhood school with a host of community partners to make sure that children have everything they need to succeed. And so that also means everything the family needs. Carlin Springs has been a community school. This is our 18th year that we've been working to implement and develop the community school model here, removing barriers for families, improving conditions, and increasing opportunities for students and their family members. So we use the public school building as a hub, and we offer a range of out of school time programs, academic programs, health, social, emotional supports to students and their families. And this is all done through our community partners. So the planning and implementation of our model is at the hands of a steering committee, which is made up of school staff, parents, county staff, community members, and our partners. So tonight I want to share with you 2 different visuals that illustrate the key components or the key pillars of a community school. 2 visuals that I really like. So this, whoops, how do I go back? There we go. So this first visual is, this is created by the Learning Policy Institute, which houses the National Coalition for Community Schools, who provides a lot of technical support for individual schools like Carlin Springs, professional development, and then also advocates at a national level for this model. So the overarching goal is to increase student academic achievement. So we do this by increasing access to health, mental health, social services. We also work to increase parents' participation in the school. That includes interaction with staff, any interaction with us as an institution, essentially, and to build true engagement with families, which really means families are involved in the decision making. We also work to increase parents and adults, their skill sets. So this is in areas such as English, technology, literacy, or other areas that are identified by families. And then lastly, we're increasing opportunities for our students to participate in after-school programming, in enrichment programming and academic programming that happens out of school time. So these are the 4 key pillars. We have collaborative leadership that makes this all happen. We have family and community engagement. We have integrated student supports, which is the mental and physical health supports and basic needs type programming. And then the expanded learning time after school programming. So this next visual is created by the National Center for Community Schools. I really like this visual because it speaks to me in terms of what goes on behind the scenes, in terms of the collaboration and intentionality that we bring to the model. You know, there's a lot of schools that house after school programs and have family engagement, and, you know, all of our schools provide a level of mental health support. So the key and the difference is that the community school model is a strategy. So it's not just one program, it's dozens of programs. And what are we doing to make sure they're connected and they're intentional? It's based on data. We have input from the community that we serve. And so I really like this model because it actually only lists three of the pillars that I mentioned in the last slide. It mentions the academics, the out of school time program, and the student and family supports. What's happening at each of the vertices is the collaboration. You know, that's where the leadership takes place to make sure that we're only bringing to the building and to our families really what's needed at this time, and then we can adapt it as the landscape changes. You know, we learned a lot about that in March 2020 when the school shut down, and we finally broke that imaginary boundary that existed between school and home. You know, we were really forced to collaborate and connect with families, and we found that through this model, we were really well positioned to do that. So the idea is that everything is co-designed with something else. Great, you know, the most obvious example of this is after school programming, in which our enrichments are aligned with SOLs, but they're aligned with the SOLs that our students need at Carlin Springs. So for example, our partnership with Educational Theater Company works to bring a residency program where students write, script, act out and perform for the community their own original play. And every year we look at our most recent data. Historically, the play had science SOL themes embedded into the story. You know, pandas go to Mars, whatever it is that's going to teach the scientific method, because that was a great need of ours, was incorporated into the after school programming. This year, that same partnership is focusing on social emotional learning skills. So everything that's happening is connected and intentional. And so I really just want to emphasize that the strategy is what makes the community school model unique, and the work that goes behind it. Let's see, next. Oh, I keep skipping ahead. Here we go. So schools can't do it all and shouldn't have to. So we partner with fantastic community organizations. Probably everybody in this group is aware of all the partners listed on this page. And this allows us to broaden our capacity as a school and connect families with already existing resources. So as a school, we are not becoming experts in food pantries and whatever the program technology skills. We're kind of brokering out and working with those who are already experts in the community and linking that with our families and bringing it to the school, and using the relationship that we already have with families to make those connections, and like a shared trust that we find, you know, if we're bringing in an external partner, because we're doing it at the school, there's this this shared trust that families are able to connect with more resources. So this, essentially, if we're implementing this model very well, we are achieving a greater overall impact than the sum of all the existing parts. Essential partnership in our integrated student supports is with DHS. And since the launch of the community school model, there has been a formal agreement between Arlington Public Schools and Arlington County to provide a public health nurse role and a mental health therapist role to Carlin Springs School to help implement this model. And that's definitely a key aspect. We have a full-time public health nurse here at Carlin Springs. I believe that we are still the only school in APS that has a truly full-time 12-month public health nurse. And then we have a nearly full-time mental health therapist who both are able to provide a whole array of services, everything from like early intervention and prevention all the way through direct treatment and higher level interventions. Both of these roles are seamless in the school community. If you came to Carlin Springs and you met our mental health clinician, you know, you really would think she's part of the school staff here. So that's how well we've integrated that relationship. And having a full-time public health nurse not only allows her to do the traditional roles, but she manages a lot of medical, dental, health referrals. She links families up with financial support for medical services, dental services, case management, and connecting families with medical homes. And then she also is able to help host school-wide health initiatives. So an example of that is our family market, which we host once a month in partnership with the Capital Area Food Bank. And I want to give you a quick dive into our after-school programming. We are currently in the second year of a 3-year grant cycle in which we are receiving funding from federal funding from Title IV Part B 21st Century Community Learning Centers. It's a mouthful. So that grant is essential in implementing this robust after-school program. Carlin Springs has been awarded funding from VDOE consecutively since 2002. So on average, we have an annual budget of just under $200,000, and which we are able to provide. You can see on this slide, 25 enrichment programs, tutoring programs, And these are all facilitated by teachers from Carlin Springs, community partners. And again, part of the process is that there's a lot of intentionality and connection with real-time needs of our students and families. Two of our key partners in after-school programming are Aspire After School Learning, which is located at Arlington Mill, and Harvey Hall, which is an AHC Inc. Community center that Kim was mentioning too. Both of those programs are partially funded by the same 21st Century Grant. And there's a lot of connection that happens with those after-school programs and our academic team here. Their staff are trained by our literacy coaches and math coaches so that interventions that are taking place in either setting are like a seamless continuation of what's happening in the school day. So we work very closely with them. Just to give you a little snapshot, in the 18-19 school year, which was our last normal full school year, 83% of our 3rd through 5th graders participated in after-school enrichments, and 51% of our kindergarten through 2nd graders participated. So we're always working to increase our partnerships, and we use an annual evaluation with the support of the data specialists from the partnership and APS. We're able to pull a lot of data and look at the model. And historically, we are able to see year after year that we are increasing academic achievement in language arts and math. We're decreasing absences. We're increasing family engagement. So there's a lot of research that we rely on that large organizations like the Coalition do to support the model, but then we also do our own evaluation annually at Carlin Springs, which I can go into a whole nother presentation on that sometime, if anyone actually has any specific pieces they'd like to hear more about. So I want, just to bring this full circle, I want to also talk about an important aspect of the community school model is that it's an equity strategy. Because if we're implementing the model well, then we are disrupting inequitable practices. So that's really kind of at the forefront right now. And this model, it develops over the years, and there are some years where we make leaps and bounds and partnerships, and then there's years where we have new school leadership, large staff turnover, whatever the reason is, we kind of cycle back and reform. So I want to open it up for questions. I will leave you with one last thought though, that the Coalition for Community Schools is estimating that by the year 2025, there's going to be 25,000 community schools in the United States. And Carlin Springs is Arlington's community school. It's really a gem. It's a, you know, I want to ensure that we share out all the great things that are happening. And I think we're going to be hearing more about the community school model as more ESSER funds come in for supporting strategies just like this. So I'll stop sharing my screen and feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions.
I got a couple of questions. The things that, you know, I've heard a lot about Carlin Springs, I've seen it in action a bit too. It really does seem like a wonderful model. So one of the questions, I have two questions. One is, what are the barriers to creating more community schools in Arlington? You know, surely there are target elementary schools that would also benefit from this model and whatever. And the other thing is there such a thing as a community school model that would be applied to middle schools or high schools?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the second question first. The community school model, absolutely. It's a model that's implemented nationally at early childhood centers, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and alternative high schools. I'm not sure the correct term to use. And I myself have worked in other districts where all school levels were community schools. So I'd love to see more community schools in Arlington. Certainly funding is a huge barrier. There, funding needs to be in place. There has to be a full-time coordinator. There has to be support for the coordinator. And there most certainly has to be commitment and buy-in from school leadership to enable that collaborative leadership can happen, because it is different than the normal patterns you may see. There's some great comics that I took out of my slideshow. It was getting too long, but it's a shift in thinking, I would say. It's a shift from, the rotary phone to the smartphone. It's a shift. There's a lot of things that need to happen behind the scenes for that connectivity. So those are some essentials that have to take place in order for community school to get started.
Hi, I'm going to ask an SEL question again. I heard that you have an SEL focus this year, and I was wondering what kind of needs you were seeing that you're trying to address with that. And it sounds like an amazing overall program, and I think so many people would benefit from the whole program. But yeah, the SEL, I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so the example I was mentioning is just one specific example, in that one of the after school enrichment experiences where students are writing their own play that they will then perform for their peers. They are, and I actually haven't seen the script yet. They did a draft reading today. Students, the facilitators of the after school program have been meeting regularly with our school counselors so that they have the language to talk about problem solving, communication, sharing your feelings, identifying your feelings, and those will be incorporated in the play. So I imagine that in the play, some type of difficulty or challenge will arise, and hopefully the characters of the play will be demonstrating and emphasizing the language that's being taught in the counseling lessons at school. And they may even write a little song about it. They did a rap one year. So that's one specific example. And my role is to make sure the right people are talking. I'm kind of the behind the scenes person. I'm not providing any of the direct mental health services or facilitating any after school clubs. I'm making sure all the right people are connecting and keeping a 10,000 foot view while I'm also on the ground.
Wow, well, I love how you focus on the mental health and the health. And I don't know if you could say anything more about like what kind of needs or issues that mental health wise that you're seeing.
Well, our families are continuing to need a liaison with DHS, whether it's referrals for housing, food, furniture, parenting, education. And then we're also, I'm sure this group has talked about it before, but like a lot of schools, after not being present in the building, we're finding students to be at a maturity level that's maybe a little bit further behind than what you would anticipate developmentally. And so that comes out in many different, you see that manifest in different ways throughout the school day.
Hey, Carol, when you were mentioning the equity issues, I have I think there's an equity disparity in terms of reading skills. I bet you'd attest to that.
Yeah, and that's a complicated question. I certainly am not a trained literacy specialist, but because our students, many of our students are English learners, having experiences to build background knowledge in enrichment programming is really important, so that when you're in the classroom, that background knowledge already exists. And yeah. In other communities, you see those experiences happening on the weekends or evenings, and we really need to ensure that those experiences are available in here while students are already in our building. And then we provide everything that's needed, everything from snacks to transportation. And we also see that in relation to school readiness. We have about 100 students in the VPI program. So that's an area we're always working to improve, school readiness. How do we reach, find, or even know who are the families that can be coming to Carlin Springs as 3 and 4-year-olds? Yeah. And then a third layer related to literacy is summer experience. There's a huge summer slide in reading, and today was the opening of Parks and Rec camps for our students, but that's not a service that we find a lot of families utilizing. The service needs to come through a trusted source like the school to have summer experiences.
Well, I mention it because I have a friend who's already doing this at another Arlington school, bringing in retired folks to read in the library in the school. And I just wonder, I think there's people out there that would come and sit and read with one day a week or whatever with a kid. And because a lot of these children don't have a parent at home who are going to read to them either in English or maybe not in any other language.
Yeah, we love for volunteers to come in and serve as reading buddies. We've had many of our previous volunteers are not quite ready to come back. So I think when I talked about the developmental stages of the model, that's definitely an area that we are not as expansive as we used to be, but I'm hoping that we get back there, having volunteers serve in roles like that.
Yeah.
Can you say more about what you just started to say, Carol, about how you do reach families that are not at your school yet?
Yes. So we will utilize people like Kim and other programs to make sure that there's information in other settings, because why would you be coming to the school? You're not receiving school text messages or emails if you're not already a family here. So we're really going to think about those places like the Diaper Bank, Project Family, really utilize our partners to get the information out. APS is doing something new this year, and they're having later hours for supporting families in person who need technical help in registering. So that's something new. And also the Office of Early Childhood Development has connected with us, and we're throwing around ideas like, let's go to Tyrell Hill Park, and that's where the information table should be set up on a beautiful spring day to connect with families. That's a unique area, because we've learned over the years how to successfully connect with families who are already part of the Carlin Springs community. But registering and knowing that you can register for programs for 3 and 4-year-olds is a different story.
I'm inviting you anytime you want to come to the Diaper Bank. Come on over. Families would love to meet you.
Thank you.
I know. I'm like, you should come to one of our Rec on Wheels at Tyrell Hill. We could do some fun stuff together.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll connect with you later. I'll send you an email.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me to share, and anybody is invited to visit us at Carlin Springs anytime you like. We love having visitors, give a tour of the school or see what's happening that day.
Thank you so much, Carol, and Kim, both for joining us. I am going to turn the agenda over. Sorry, it's dog action over at my house. If you can hear that cute little howl. That's some of our dog's best work right there. I wanted to turn the meeting over to Grace for the announcements section.
So, side note for anybody who cares is that on these late night meeting days, it's Chick-fil-A night. So my Chick-fil-A just arrived. So a little earlier than I thought, Megan. But that's great. I just wanted to give a quick update because I know we all care about Your Voice Matters. So Your Voice Matters is coming out March 7th for students and staff, and March 14th for families. There are no big changes this year from what it was a couple of years ago, other than the removal of those duplicate questions that are now part of the SEL screener that we talked about last month. So as far as content goes, there's very little that was changed. A couple other of the ones that I remember is we added school counselors as an example, but it doesn't change the actual question. We removed a brand name from somewhere. So everything is 99% the same, which means we'll be able to still have that trend data from the last 2 years. So we will be able to continue to look at that as it goes along. So yay is really all I have. It'll be administered in schools. We're working with the schools right now to get that done. I'm sure Carol will be reaching out to you to make sure we get a lot of those family, especially with the language barrier and your, not a barrier, but the making sure that they have access to the survey, the families in the correct language, and making sure we have those. So yeah, data for that should be coming out this summer. Yay. Who's excited? Because I'm super excited. You guys know how much I'm super excited about both Virginia Youth Survey and this, because we did both of them right before the pandemic and now right after, or kind of sort of after. This is super cool. But yeah, that's as much as I have. I will put in the chat, you can actually we have posted the student surveys and the family surveys. I'll post a link in here for, it is publicly available to see what we'll be asking if you need a refresher on that page. And then with that link, you'll be able to see the data from the 2018 and 2020. And we will not be making the staff survey public, but it will, as far as I know, it's basically the same. The big cool thing this year, I wasn't here 2 years ago when you guys did it, is that we will now also be surveying hourly staff in APS, which we didn't do a couple of years ago. So great news. Look at all you excited people too. You guys are all cool. But okay, so I'll put that link in the chat in a second, and that's what I have. So next month I might have some preliminary numbers on who's completed and who hasn't, but no promises.
Thanks, Grace.
Grace, can you say a little more? Sorry, I know I'm standing between you and dinner. About what happens with the staff survey, what that information is that's collected, and what happens with it.
Sure. No, you're not standing between me and dinner. This is just meeting time. I don't have the best answer for you because I know a lot more about staff and families. But the data gets used. So some of the questions that we'll ask, I can definitely give a little closer snippet next time. I'm not super prepared for it because I don't think it's been fun. Even I don't have the final version of the staff to look at right now. But it's things like, how supportive do you find your supervisor? Is feedback helpful? Is it provided in a way that is a growth-based? There's questions like, and there's some that kind of mirror the family and students. Like I feel respected by the families that I work with, or my school's families. We also ask a question in the student one. I find not true. It's not a true or false question, but I find the staff at my, the teachers at my school to be respectful of me. We ask it of families. I find the staff at the school to be respectful of me. To what extent? So it's mostly questions like that. It is used departmentally, I believe, because we do, we don't publish the staff data, but on the data that I submitted to Panorama, it does say who works in which department at APS as well. So not only the staff of the schools, but also I work in planning and evaluation. So that data, in my assumption, will get carried up to my chief of staff, which is who my boss's boss's boss is, right before the superintendent. So I think it gets rolled up there. I don't know as much about the staff data because it's not publicly available, so I seldom go into it. As much as I do with students and families.
Grace, and maybe Kim, to kind of reach back to your previous seat as well. But do you know if the staff survey assesses staff's confidence or competence in assessing mental health and supporting mental health of students? No, nothing like that.
In any questions like that. No.
Okay.
Grace, I have like one more question. It's related, not related to Your Voice Matters. It's like the SEL screenings. You might not know the answers, but do Arlington family, do the parents get the results of the SEL? Because I know that in Fairfax County, I got both of my kids and it was amazing. And you guys, I almost cried when it said that they had a trusted adult. But I was like, yay, partnership. But anyways, I didn't know if that was something that was regionally wise got sent to the parents, but it's the first time I got it because now I have teenagers and I thought it was unbelievably helpful. But where I struggled was now what? Because there were a couple concerning, questionable ones that you want to help fix, of course, because I'm a fixer. So I just didn't know what the process is in Arlington, if parents get the same thing and then there's a now what? How do I help increase that kid's score and make them feel better?
So if Laura Newton were here, she's who I would pass the torch to. I know, right? Because it is her and her team who is on the back end at APS. That's what they're figuring out. So logistically, my team is helping them this first round because it kind of aligns with the Your Voice Matters timeline. But as for who's using the data, when they're using it, who gets to see it, I don't have answers to that. I don't know, my Fairfax County students are only in first grade and eventually kindergarten. So I was talking to my neighbor about it. She's a fourth grade teacher for FCPS. And they also get, I believe the teachers also get the individual student stuff in Fairfax. I don't know what that's going to look like with APS. And again, that can change. So if this round, they don't let parents see, or they don't share results with parents, I assume they would. I think it would be really hard for a survey like that to not. As a parent, I would want that, but I don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to say something that is completely contradictory to what Laura Newton and her team.
No, I was just curious because like I felt like the strong partnership connection as I was reading like the survey results, and I felt like I had a leg up, but I don't know if other parents do necessarily. So
yeah, I am with you. I would love to know what my kids would say on it. So
I can add something because I'm on the Student Services Advisory Committee, and our number one recommendation, which we're about to do, is to get CASEL. You know, CASEL is the collaborative for academic and social emotional learning to come into APS and do an analysis. And we want them to use the survey information and all of it to see like what, you know, how to move forward with our SEL, like what are the needs? And then they've been researching SEL and implementing SEL effectively at like large school districts all around the country. And so they have this thing where they come in and they speak to the superintendent and they look at all the data, and then they make like high quality, like immediate recommendations and then long-term recommendations. But hopefully they'll approve that and they'll use the survey in that information.
Yeah. So so sorry, Megan. I put whoever was talking, I put the link to the APS Engage page in the chat. So you can see stuff there. We are working on translations. I believe Kim can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I believe this time we are offering the survey in all 5 of our languages for students, families this time, and we didn't last time.
We did in Spanish during the day for families. Actually, it was in all of the languages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. And just to tie to between the partnership and the data and Carlin Springs and the AFAC food distributions, we actually went to Carlin Springs one night and had people filling out the information while they were waiting for their food. So make sure you send me the information and I'll make sure that it gets to at least the couple of hundred of families that we meet with, because we'll try to make sure that they participate.
Yeah, so what will be happening the one good thing about the pandemic is that the number of families in APS without an attached email has dropped down to about 480 of about 22,000 students. So that's a really good thing to kind of come out of this pandemic, which means we'll be able to, fingers crossed, hopefully connect to 21,900 families via email. The rest of them will get a mailer, and in that mailer, they'll have a specific, it's just a code. So they'll have a website and it's 10-digit code for the rest of those families that aren't getting the email. So yeah. Fun. All right. That's what I have.
Thank you, Grace. And now I want to open it up. Do other people have announcements before we have 9 minutes? All right, great.
Megan, I can share something real fast.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure everybody knows about it. Summer registration was hard this morning. It was very hard. There was a major technical issue, and we've been trying judiciously to always be ahead of the game, but I know, I'm sorry, Sally. This is the first year I wasn't in the race myself, but I was on the other end trying to help parents. And so, you know, it was huge. There were 9,000 people online at 7 a.m. And so really working through it. And I can tell you as an update, I've sent staff over to customer service, and everybody, we've been able to find out where people were lost or dropped in the system, adding people to wait lists, trying to open additional slots, really trying to get everybody taken care of, and trying to do the very best we can to try to make more opportunities for camp if possible. We are still under COVID restrictions. You know, I mean, if those magically go away and 1 million people suddenly want to start working summer camp, we have better opportunities. But that's where we are now. So I just figured I should address it.
We enjoyed working with your staff, Kimberly, to try to make sure that we got everybody signed up for the what is it called when they get the reduced rates? Fee
reductions.
Right. So we worked very closely with a lot of your folks to try to get folks signed up for the fee reductions ahead of time so that they would be ready to go. So thanks for all of your work on that.
That's awesome. And I will say that we do still have some outreach slots saved for our most critical kiddos who we really need to, and those are people who are identified by school counselors or DHS staff or in the foster care system. We do protect a few spots in some of our camps for those children.
I was going to ask, well, thank you. It's a really long day for you. 9,000 people at 7 a.m. Yikes.
Luckily, I'm on the program side, so I wasn't dealing with just a couple of parents who emailed me directly. I was just to say.
But still, wow. Well, great. I'm sorry it was not seamless. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that you didn't need to be a parent in the system this year. Anybody else with an announcement before we go? All right, so good to see you. Great to see you, Kim. Welcome back. Come anytime. Good to see everybody else. And we'll try to catch our new public school, our APS board liaison another time soon. So thank you very much, Carol. Thank you, Kim, for presenting to us tonight. We really appreciate it. And come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right.
See you next time.
Nice seeing you, Kim.
Yep.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.